Welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. It's tea. It's a little early. I drink brewed coffee, tea, beer, and of course water sometimes. Today, we've got something special. I've made 182 brews per se. That does include a few ciders and wines, but 182 since I started this adventure in brewing over 5.5 years ago. The one thing I haven't brewed is a brown ale, which understandable. I find some brown ales I like and some I don't care for so much. So brown ales aren't real high on the list. They're definitely, when you go in a store or a bottle shop, they don't have a lot of brown ales per se. So we're gonna kick it up a notch. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a base, a really amazing brown ale base with toasted malty flavors. And then we're gonna add Amoretti's Artesian French Toast. I took this bottle around town recently and I had people smell it. And everybody says it either smells like French toast or pancakes. And I get the pancakes. And you know, we could throw some chocolate in here and make it chocolate chip pancake beer. But I don't want to go overboard. I think it's going overboard with the French toast. So you can smell it. You smell the maple, you smell the toastedness of the bread. You can smell the powdered sugar across the top. It smells amazing. And the key with that being such a sweet type dessert, we don't want the beer to be overly sweet. I have enough adjuncts or specialty malts, as you may want to call them, in here that we're still going to have a little higher on the final gravity of, we're approximating about 1.016 for final gravity, which is acceptable. 1.017 is pretty common in like stouts and things like that. So I'm okay with that. But we're gonna have to pitch a very dry yeast as far as drying out the beer so that we don't have as many residual sugars as possible, so that when we add this for back sweetening, it tastes balanced. We want it to be balanced. It's gonna be a little sweet, but we want it to be balanced. What we're also gonna do, and I'm not a real good person with lactose. Lactose doesn't like me. I don't have anything personal against it, but it doesn't like me, and I know there's people out there with the same issue. We're only gonna put 8 ounces in it. That will give us enough of the nuance of the creaminess and a hint of sweetness, and to kind of help with that mouthfeel so we get that real silky mouthfeel that we want with the French toast, maple syrup going on. I've actually put a pound of golden naked oats in with the malts. So we've got our base malts, we've got all the specialty malts. What we're doing is we're doing 6 pounds, 2 ounces of Maris Otter, doing 1.5 pounds of Munich, 1 pound of the naked oats, golden, 13.5 of Cara Brown. I had some Cara Brown, it's getting a little aged, I gotta get rid of it, so I threw it in there. Got 12 ounces of biscuit malt, give it that nice biscuity, bready, toasty taste. Toast is coming from some others, but that's okay. The toast, the toffee, the caramels, we're getting that from a British dark that I had, which is sitting at 85. I'd had it for a while, I don't really use it. I use my regular caramel malt, so I want to get rid of that also. Put in 8 ounces of honey malt, get a little sweetness as far as in flavor, not just in taste. And then what we're gonna do to balance things out with hops, we're just gonna do a 60-minute boil with Magnum, even though we're gonna do a 90-minute boil for the whole thing. 0.65 of an ounce, just enough to balance it and kind of keep it balanced. We don't want it to be overly sweet, and that bitterness will help bring that down a little bit. As far as the yeast, I'm sitting on London Ale from White Labs right now, but also Omega's 048 British 11. I don't even think they make it anymore, but I have it. I've been keeping it going. I'm debating. I got 6 yeast starters cranking away, and I say that because they're back in a room behind me here, but 6 yeast starters, and I'm gonna make a call at the end of the day which one I want to pitch. So I like that ability to change it up at the last minute. Some things I am very decisive on, some things not so much. Other thing is we got some brewing salts here that we need to put in here. We're putting in 7.5 gallons of water, since we're using our Anvil Foundry, 10.5, and we've got our jaded brewing, sillet for chilling. We've got 1.8 grams of gypsum, 4.8 grams of Epsom salt, 2.6 grams of calcium chloride. That's all in here. These will help bring it a little more acidic. The calcium chloride, I always put that in first, so that I can take wherever I put my lovely metal spoon. Here it is. Once I put that in there, I crush it because it's little tiny hard pellets. And if you've done your own water chemistry, you know what I'm talking about. And that stuff almost never wants to dissolve. So I always crush it first, Make sure that's good. Watch it because it gets built up on the spoon. And then we have a second addition, which is our baking soda and chalk, but we'll be adding that to the boil because it can bring out some alkalinity, and we don't want to add that alkalinity to the mash. Another thing is, I know some people are talking about doing water chemistry and seeing things about water chemistry. If you're doing 5-gallon batches, you're doing things in grams. It's just a jeweler's scale. Get yourself a little scale that does jewelry and you'll be able to do grams just perfect. No big deal. Mine's been beat to death. I need to buy another one here soon. But other thing, and I just want to mention this, for home brewers out there who have a habit of burning themselves, I recently burned both my hands pretty badly and was shocked I didn't end up with blisters. But ice and vinegar. Bury your hands in ice and vinegar. I spent 4 hours in ice and vinegar and wrapped my hands in vinegar and ice and went to bed that way. Ice and vinegar. The ice will keep your hands cool, pull some of that sting out. The vinegar will help pull some of the heat out, and just keep soaking until they don't sting, although mine stung for almost 24 hours. So I finally just dealt with it. Figured I was gonna get a few. No blisters at all, and it was boiling chili that I poured over my hands. And 2 days later I spilled boiling oil and hit my ankle. Not so lucky there. It took a little bit of skin. Not a big deal. I'm a little bit of a klutz. It just is what it is. So let's get brewing. Okay, some people have asked what I use to crush my grains. I have a pot, I have another pot. I have just a Ryobi wireless, used to use a wired one, and a cereal crusher. Nothing real special. Not the monster, nothing special. Just, I think this thing used to sell for $100, probably still does. And I've had it for, God, I don't know how many years now, at least 4, maybe longer. Actually, probably longer. I think maybe a little closer to 5. And then dump it in. Try a little bit of moisture this time to see how we go. And grind away. I currently have mine set at 0.0375, which is get a credit card in and out without a problem. Finish this up and we'll get brewing. I've always just crushed my grains, but I actually tried the water where you kind of get it very wet. Different people have different measurements. I just felt until it was felt a hint on the moist side throughout. I've got to say, yeah, most of the husks are still intact, even though if I touch them or try to do something to them, they do fall apart or they break open. So they're all crushed, but a little bit more whole husk, which is kind of nice. My new favorite friend when brewing. Catches lots of the bugs. So we're at mash temp, 148 Fahrenheit, and it's time to mash in. Here we go, our brewing salts. If it sticks like that, I've watched people sit and dig it out. Done, just don't burn your hand. Give that a nice stir. And time to mash in. Remember, one of the big keys not getting grain balls is don't take the whole thing and dump it in. Just take it, scoop it in, spread it out. Once you get a decent amount in there, stir from the bottom up. Try not to hit the very bottom. Eventually, once it starts to settle, you're going to end up with a grain bed on the bottom that's going to help with filtration, which you want. Okay, once we get mashed in, we'll be good. And we've got this going on for 90 minutes. Okay, so we're all mashed in. See, and this is one of the reasons I set it to 148. It's been bumping up around 150, 151. It's higher than where I really want to be. So if I set it to 150, then I'm going to be up around 152 to 154, and I don't want to go there. So set our dispersion plate, or whatever you want to call it, to disperse the liquid. Put our lid on without the silicone. Up here, bad boy in there, open the valve, turn the pump on, and you don't want the liquid to be pouring in there at high speed. Put the little restrictor on and restrict. There we go. So we'll make sure the liquid's going everywhere. Okay, we've got a countdown and we'll get going. Okay, it's been 90 minutes. Don't want to forget my gloves, just in case. And the fun part. The workout. I tried something a little different this time. For the grain bill, which was about 11.5 pounds, we should have been around 6.4 gallons and 1 gallon sparge. Instead, I went for 6 gallons. Seems to be working out just fine. Giving me a gallon and almost a half, so 1.4 gallons of sparge water, which is sitting at about 172 last I checked. Easy way to check, 169. I'm okay with that. It's hot. And we're done. Done sparging. Okay, we're gonna let this run, let it drip, and we're gonna keep the temperature up. Power, and we're at boil, 100%, and currently we're at 147 Fahrenheit, so it's gonna take a little while. Okay, as you can see, well, 209, it was 208 a second ago. We got a rolling boil. This 220 is quite amazing at getting up to a nice rolling boil very quickly. But remember, periodic, you want to take something, wood or plastic, before it gets to the boil, and just kind of wipe the bottom to make sure you don't have any sediment sticking to it. Otherwise you can scorch. Even in the low density, it's just not as prone compared to the high density burners. And if you wear glasses, lift them up, otherwise you're going to fog up. We've got a nice rolling boil going. You can probably hear it over the bugs making weird noises in the background. Okay, we're gonna boil for 30 minutes, drop the hops, boil for another 60 minutes, and wrap things up. Okay, we're 30 minutes in, which means we're 60-minute addition. Adding our Magnum hops, 0.65 ounces. Do not remember the alpha. Have to check. Nice and wet. Saturated, whatever you want to call it. And there we go. Over the bottom again. And we kind of scald. Last thing we want. Scorch, scald, whatever you want. Looking very brown, hence brown ale. Went a little light on the color, but I figure with the caramelization and boil time of 90 minutes, we'd be fine. Okay, we're in the last 5 minutes. 8 ounces. I thought I got a lot more, but it's 8 ounces of lactose, half a pound. We're doing a 1/4 teaspoon super moss. It's kind of funny on the instructions. It says you can use more, you can use less, but don't use more. And it's cooled wort. Just been sitting at room temperature for quite a while. Dump that in. And one thing I may not have shown you, but I turn on the pump for a little bit while it's boiling, just to kind of clean out everything and make sure everything is kind of cycled a little bit. This is going to be about a half a teaspoon of waste nutrient. Or tablespoon. I'm gonna kind of eye it. I forgot to bring the spoon. Okay, closer to a tablespoon, but we're okay. Not a big deal. Okay, I'm gonna go grab the Scylla and get ready since we're on the last 5 minutes. It's that time. Here we go. Drop the Scylla. Turn the power. Don't know why I always do that. Off. Let's kick the water on. Okay, temperature's falling. We're gonna fill this with ice and water. So we can then run it from here. Silicone. Okay, we're going to switch it over to the recycled and the ice water ice bath. The goal of this isn't so much the speed, but to chill it down quickly and to chill it down all the way to your pitching temp, or as least close as you can get to it. So when we get close to 70 degrees, we're set. We'll probably get a little colder. I'm okay, it'll warm right back up. There we go. I think I'm good with 72 for pitching yeast. Pretty damn good. Just over, say about 5 1/4, which is where we want to be. Comes with the loss. Some people ask, why do this twice? Well, one, I'm lazy and don't want to mark the other bottles, so I see 5 gallons and know where it is. Number 2 is I'm shooting the hell out of this. And when I dump it in there, it's going to get super aerated, lots of bubbles, seal it up, and then we'll decide which yeast to pitch. Plus this filter on top of this, and yes, I star sanded it and then cleaned it with hot water. I want star sand in my beer. Catches any little tiny bits of sediment that we missed. Sometimes it catches a ton, sometimes it catches very little because there's very little to catch, which this time is looking really good. But as we get towards the bottom, we get more, of course, so we'll see. Not seeing near the sediment I usually see, which is good. Looks like a fine grit that you normally get. Sometimes you have to clean the filter a couple times during the pour. I might make it all the way to the end without having to do that. Although we will probably have to pause and let the foam go down. We'll see. Get lucky there too. It's in a vortex type effect. And there we go. And we'll just clean that, not a big deal. Another thing I do that some people might think is crazy, and normally I don't even show it on the camera, but as you can see, I have 6 yeast starters. Sometimes I only do 2 or 3, but I never know what I want. Right away, the Burlington from White Labs doesn't look viable. I've definitely got some yeast in there, but it might be time for a fresh one. I keep some of these going for years, and to me that's a good thing. It saves a lot of money. And I always have something on hand that I never know what I want to use next. I was going to use the London, White Labs London. It has a nice smell, it's clean, can give off a little sign of oakiness, but other than that, it's very clean. It would leave us with a final gravity, if it fermented out properly, to 1.016, which is pretty good. It's a good number. British 007, which is also White Labs. I think it's funny it's 007, British. I really kind of smelled all these beforehand, and this is where I was gonna go. And it's would finish out, or should finish out at 1.014, giving us a very nice dry beer, because we want it to be dry, because we're gonna be adding back sweetening, and we don't want it to taste sweet. A little bit, but not overly sweet. Melbourne, one of my favorites. It's an Australian yeast from White Labs. Gives off a nice citrus. Ferments pretty dry. I just don't feel like it would fit with French toast. One of my new ones that I'm dying to try. Omega 501. It's a cross between an Irish yeast and a Saison without all the Saison smell, but the dryness. I smell fruit. I'm gonna say slightly tropical, but it's supposed to be very clean. And then this, which matches this, and both of these have an attenuation of 82%, or as high as 82%, which means we could get down all the way to 1.012 final gravity, which would be a little drier than I really want. The 1.014 would be plenty dry. But it may not ferment that far, and with the lactose, I doubt it will. I think this is where we're going. This is Omega 048. It's almost identical to the 501. They don't make it anymore. It's a British 11 is what they call it. X1. I don't know. I may go for the 501. Gulu or Golu. You know what? Yeah, we're doing it. I can smell more of the peach, and I should be getting peach from this. It's very clean. Definitely has a hint of peach. Decisions. Drum roll. And yes, I still don't know. I think that little hint of peach will give it a nice hint, just a subtle hint of fruit in the background, which would be nice with French toast. Imagine French toast with little fresh peaches over the top. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I get a stir bar in there. So I take a earth magnet, keep it from going. We're only gonna pitch about half of this, because that's how I keep my yeast going. Okay, a little more than half, but it's okay. I'll make more. Okay, Omega 501. A little cross between Irish, a little cross between a Saison, and French toast. We will see how it goes. Time to put it in the fermenter. And a little water spray. Thank you again for joining Bitter Reality Brewing. Check back for part 2 of 2. This is part 1 of